Welcome back to Laying Down the Law here on 1250 ESPN San Antonio and now 94.5 FM. We are now joined by Justin Fensterman of SiriusXM Radio, National NBA Analyst. And Justin, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for having me. How are you?
Doing really good.
So I'll give you kind of the background. So Justin
give us a little bit.
Justin was one of my producers when I was on SiriusXM for a couple years. So I'll tell you how tight we are. For Christmas, I gave Justin a Tuggy. So for Christmas. So Justin,
man, you weren't supposed to tell anyone about that.
So you're welcome. You're welcome, buddy. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. That's how close we are. Just saying. Got to keep it warm, brother. Got to keep it warm.
You may could have kept that to yourself.
No, I'm just saying he's on the East Coast and it's cold up there right now, so I'm sure he's wearing it.
Gesture, and it was very comfortable, guys. I can't lie.
Justin, we'll start things off. Kawhi Leonard's back for the San Antonio Spurs. Tony Parker finally looking to get over that hamstring injury, although they got really taken to the woodshed last night. They're 4th in the division, 7th in the conference. How did they really stack up against the rest of the West? Easy for me to say.
3 times.
All right, well, guys, I think that this team at full strength, and they prove it year after year, is that they can stack up against just about everybody else in this conference, as tough as it is. They can stack up against Golden State because Golden State doesn't have that established big man to defend them. They could stack up against the Clippers. I know it didn't work out last night. I really do think that I'm not a full believer in the Clippers. They could stack up against Portland. They're not healthy. Houston as well, not healthy. So absolutely, the one team that they're going to have trouble with is the team that's just a little bit better than them on defense, and that's the Memphis Grizzlies, guys, because if I'm comparing both teams full strength, there's a lot of similarities, and Memphis is very, very difficult. They've got a ton of facets to their game, and I'm going to tell you right now that when we're looking down the stretch at this San Antonio Spurs team, in a series it's very different. All the Spurs team needs to do is make the playoffs. They can be anywhere, and unless they draw that Memphis matchup, which, hey, if the season ended today, they'd be going to Memphis right now in a 2-7 matchup. If they match up against anybody else, they're going to win. I think the Spurs, because of their consistency, because of their depth in a series, that's where teams like the Clippers and the Warriors will be exposed in the playoffs.
Justin, I'm about to slam my junk on the table.
Oh, I know that.
Yeah, you do know that. And because we argued earlier about how the Spurs, in my opinion, don't match up against a lot of the better teams in the West, healthy or unhealthy. You know, obviously we saw what happened last night against the Clippers, and it was a transition defense. I mean, Sean Elliott was killing the Spurs on a local telecast, about how they couldn't get back. And, you know, then obviously we start talking about guys like, you know, Tim Duncan, and we were having the argument earlier on whether or not, you know, Tim Duncan was, you know, deserving of being an all-star this year, being at 14-10, and as James pointed out, 2 in the block category. So he's the old fart. He gets selected for his 15th, you know, all-star appearance. And, you know, all due respect to Tim Duncan and what he's been able to do in the past, do you think he's deserving of being an all-star this year compared to maybe D. Cousins?
You know what? Absolutely. Well, first of all, Cousins is in as an injury replacement. But when comparing who should get that spot, I do think Tim Duncan deserves it.
You're
not
drunk.
Not over DeMarcus Cousins from a statistics standpoint, but at the same time, what more can you ask from Tim Duncan, Paul? Because when you're looking at the greatest power forward of all time, and hands down,
hey, Justin, you just said it. You just said it right there, and you've proven my point already. Is that we're looking at the history in which Tim Duncan has done and what he's done over the history of what Tim Duncan has done, right? So we put him in for 15. He marks being the only.
He was a coach's selection.
But I'm just saying.
I trust the coaches.
Yeah, but who's the coach? A former player of Tim Duncan's. You know what I'm saying? So there's a history there. I'm just saying, Justin, I thought there was better deserving. I thought there was better statistical for the first half of this year out of players than Tim Duncan. You're putting him in because of the nostalgia that is Tim Duncan. Is he worthy of being on the Mount Rushmore of NBA players? That's a question I could turn to you.
What I was going to say, you cut me off, Paul. What I was going to say is he has been, and also he is the greatest player and power forward of all time. But
okay.
Yes, but that's the thing. You're expecting so much greatness out of him because of that. The fact of the matter is he's still averaging a double-double. He's 6th in the league in blocks. He's 12th in the NBA in rebounds. What more? You can't want too much more from this guy, Paul.
And
he averages nearly 2 blocks a game. You see the same thing from him every year, and this year is no different. Yes, DeMarcus Cousins is great. I think DeMarcus Cousins should have been voted a starter, especially with how he's toned down his attitude. Absolutely agree. But Tim Duncan still has the credentials to make this all-star team.
You're drunk. I still love you, though.
Hey, like I say, drop the mic, baby. Drop the mic and walk away.
Justin
Shut him down.
Fensterman, a SiriusXM Radio and NBA analyst, joining us here on 1250 ESPN San Antonio and now 94.5 FM. The Spurs are the ultimate team, but we've seen in the East something you know a lot about. The Hawks seem to be a younger version of San Antonio. A lot of people are calling them San Antonio East in the national media. Former Spurs assistant coach Mike Budenholzer doing an awesome job there as the head coach. What's this Spurs effect, and how's this trickle down happening throughout the league? Could we see this throughout the rest of the league, what they're doing over there? And could Philly turn around, seeing as they're trying to implement kind of a similar blueprint?
Well, the thing is, it takes years to build what the Spurs have built. They don't have that established superstar scorer that's going to score you 26, 27 a game. They don't have Durant. They don't have LeBron. They don't have James Harden. They don't have Steph Curry. They don't have Carmelo Anthony. And the Hawks and the Spurs, and this is both the Hawks and the Spurs, they don't have that dominant scorer. That player on the Hawks is Paul Millsap, averaging 17.3 points per game. But that's the thing. The Spurs have proven it. You don't need that superstar scorer to win titles. You just need that depth, and you all need to be healthy. So when I'm looking at this Spurs, and I'm looking how the minutes are distributed, you have about 5 players that get over 31 minutes a game. Then you've got players that are getting close to 20 minutes a game, a ton of players over 10 minutes a game. So the playing time distribution is great. I see a lot of similarities between the Spurs and Hawks team from an offensive and defensive standpoint. Tons of depth, a guy who can hit the three when you need to. Kyle Korver shooting about 54% from downtown, guys. He is on fire, has been on fire all season long, and the Spurs have players like that too, and that's why it's so hard to beat the Spurs. That shows that teams, you don't need to give your max money to just a superstar who's going to score you 30 points a game, maybe get you 6-7 rebounds as well. If you build within, you get a big player like Tim Duncan. If you get a smaller player like a Tony Parker, and then someone in the middle as well who can shoot and hit the three, that's what the Hawks have as well. And so, yes, I see a lot of similarities between the two teams. This is not an accident. The Hawks have a ton of depth, and they have been great and are on a huge winning streak because of it.
Justin Fensterman, SiriusXM Radio National NBA Analyst. We thank you so much for the time this afternoon or this morning, getting up early with us.
Who you got today, Justin?
I got the Seattle Seahawks. You're going to see the Patriots go up early, but then the Seattle's going to take over in the second half, and they're going to win this game.
I want my Tuggy back.
No, you're not getting it, Greco. That's staying with me. It's a gift. It's a gift. The painting was a gift, Greco.
Hey, Greco's an Indian giver. Be careful.
Oh, I know Greco. I'm not scared of him.
Thank you so much for the time, Justin.
Guys, thank you so much for having me.
That was Justin Fensterman, SiriusXM National NBA Analyst, joining us here on 1250 ESPN San Antonio and now 94.5 FM. When we come back, we're going to talk more Super Bowl and Cowboys off season. What do they have to do to keep that team together? That's all coming up here on Laying Down the Law.